Hello, Basic Bakers. It is Melissa and Chelsea here, your hosts of the Basic Bakers over at the Cookie Chat. We are so excited to be here bringing you another glorious episode of all things baking, small business, life, moms of kids. What else do we have, Chelsea? I mean,
Everything, I feel
we're just
like at this
running the
point.
gambit of life, just all the
Yes.
things. So, I'm Melissa with Missy P Sweets. This is my lovely partner.
I am Chelsea with Rolling in the Dough AZ.
And you might notice that we've got like some real cute merch on. I don't know if we haven't touted
Bam!
it, if we have not pushed it in your face enough on our
Right?
Instagram. Our fall Basic Baker merch line has launched with the domestic cookie. Chelsea and I actually got these ahead of time, and we have been. I mean, literally, I've been living in every piece.
I agree. They're so
Yeah,
soft.
they're so soft. I have to force myself to change into something different when we go to school pickup because I'm like, I probably shouldn't look like I am wearing the same thing every single day.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you a side story of this?
Yes, please.
Okay. So when I had to do school drop-offs, obviously like our Sleepy Baker shirt, that oversized.
Oh, yeah.
You guys, I live in those shirts. Those are if
Yes.
I'm not wearing a hoodie, I'm wearing that style.
Yeah.
So
it's always the question of like, do you have shorts on under there or?
Yeah. So I still had one of those on, but it was one of the days where I was like, I was doing a million different things. And I needed a shirt that I didn't care if it got ruined. And I used to do liquor promos way back in the day.
I feel like that's on brand. I like that.
Thank you.
I like that for young Chels.
And so I have a shirt that it has like those stickers like, hi, my name is whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I wore it because, again, all the moms out there when you're just like, oh my gosh, I just have to get to school pickup.
Yeah.
Run in the car. I'm still in my slippers. I'm not getting out. I'm going through drive-through. Get up there and I'm like, oh, I probably should. So I was like this, like, hey. It says, hi, my name is Drunk. Picking my kid up through drop.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I should probably look what I'm wearing.
Let me piggyback on that. I feel like I've beat you even more. You guys let us know if I beat Chelsea in the walk of shame mom drop off. So I went out on a girls' night one night, and I was like, guys, I'm going to be the DD. Like, I have a busy day tomorrow. Like, I'm like watching my calorie intake. Like, I'm going to be DD so that I for sure like and don't drink. But in like my Enneagram 3-ness, I am like, I'm going to stock this car. So I got like mini champagnes and like mini rosé bottles and stuff and like mini water bottles. I was like the Uber of all Ubers. Okay. And so I have all those. Well, then come Monday morning, I'm coming home from dropping the girls off and I look in the back seat. There's just an empty Prosecco bottle rolling around on the ground back there that the person at drop off definitely had to have seen when
do they help your kids out of the car?
They do. Well, because the child lock. So you like come around
oh my god,
and you drop off it. So they have to like open the door. And I was just like, oh Lord.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
No. Drop off is a whole beast. I'm telling you, literally, like I used to train my kids. I was like, okay, like get ready, backpacks on, water bottles in hand, and go. And I'm as fast as I could get out of the car.
Yeah, I'm super blessed because that's Mike's like favorite thing. He's very territorial about morning drop-offs. And he loves taking them in the morning. It just works with his schedule to where he's got a gap in like when people are contacting him. And so that's just always his thing. But he is like, he's going to be early or on time. If not, he gets very stressed. And so it is like 7:20 on the dot. You got to be out of the house. You got to be in the car.
Oh
and
my gosh,
so the girls know. My mom watched the girls one day and we called them. It was like 7:40. And our oldest is like, we're not even in the line yet. And Mike was like hyperventilating.
I would much rather do drop off than pickup. Pickup is a nightmare of nightmares.
Yeah. Pickup is, Yeah,
Yeah,
pickup's a lot.
not my
But
thing.
I do, just before we get into our discussion,
Oh my gosh, I
um,
love this on the shirt,
I
you guys.
know. So this one, I feel like Chelsea, you came up with this idea for
Yeah.
this one a long time ago. Well, first off, okay, this long sleeve, I feel like all of our fall winter stuff is like the perfect weight for what
Mhm.
you want fall or winter to be. It's perfect for layering. So this one, it's a long sleeve tee. So it's really light. It's like butter. Is this the Canva brand? I forget.
I'm not sure on that one. I believe so.
I think it is. But so we've got our basic, oh gosh, guys,
Yeah.
we're rotated so that you guys can see these clearly. So it's a new logo of a Basic Baker. But then on our sleeve here,
You got it. There you go. Tears go here. So
tears
when you're
go
crying
here
from all
from
your
the
crazy.
stress of the holiday. Just poking fun, or just be able to look down and be like, oh, they get me too. They're in this
Yeah.
with me. So this is one of our just kind of funny showing our humors ones. And
I
then
love that.
Chelsea, the color on yours is one of my favorites.
Yes, this is
So
like the hunter green
yes,
part.
it's our original logo of Basic
Mhm.
Baker, our classic
And I
logo.
love the inside, if you guys can
Mhm,
see. I'm trying to it's like so
mhm.
soft. The funny
Super
thing is I
soft.
ordered my kids these now because they jacked my sweatshirts.
Mhm.
We went up north and they were like, I'm gonna wear this. I'm like, no, I brought them so like I could test them in cooler weather because it's not cold here. And they were obsessed with it and they were like, I want
Mm.
these sizes. So I like had to text Krista. I'm like, my kids now want them. So the kids are getting the beanies, the sweatshirts.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cute. Oh man, you're
I
rolling into
know.
that time when the kids start stealing your clothes. It used to be us like stealing the husband's clothes because they were comfy, and now it's
I know my daughter, she's I would say almost one shoe size smaller than I am.
oh boy.
And so I mean, she's still too young to be wearing my shoes, but she is
Yeah.
like obsessed now that she's like, "Oh, your wedges almost fit me." I'm like, I
Oh
haven't worn those in
boy.
years and you're not touching them. So,
Oh
but
boy.
yes, no, we love our fall merch. And if you head over to the domestic cookie, she has
It's
them all
linked.
listed.
I'm
It
linking
is.
it. Boop.
Yes. I love it. Awesome. Well, Melissa,
Yes.
what are we talking about today? I kind of feel
Oh,
like new
good Lord.
season.
Boy, howdy. I feel like we buried the lead here, guys. This is pricing. We
Oh
are
my.
circling back around
Mm.
to our pricing episode. And
Mhm.
I feel like it's probably one of the number one questions that gets asked, whether it's on the cookie chat, whether it's us individually, is especially in this day and age, there is a terrifying butter shortage that is happening leading into
Oh.
holidays, which I still need to go hit Costco and like buy and freeze as much as I possibly can.
You could
Um,
be on my team now.
oh man, seriously. And yeah, it is always and forever. And I feel like there are so many wonderful new bakers. I feel like there's always new bakers entering the market. I feel like that has in no way slowed since COVID.
Mm-mm.
Don't you?
Yeah, and I think this is the season that we see a lot of new bakers because it's
Sure.
holiday, and I feel sometimes it gives that like false pretense of like this is always how cookies are.
Yeah,
Um,
for
so
sure.
everyone's like, "Oh, I'll try my hand at it," which is the best time to try your hand at it. But
Right.
yeah, no, I agree with you.
So we just get asked, probably not on the daily, but on the reg,
Mhm.
pricing. And okay, so personally, if somebody asks me like a design specifically, say I show a cookie in my stories and they reach out and they're like, how much would you charge for that cookie? I immediately go like this.
It's the generic sound. Do you get it from bakers or do you get it from customers a lot? Like how much?
Oh no, I never get it from custom. Well, I mean, no, I don't really get it from customers. Because usually if I share something like that, I'll share like the link of like buying it or
Yeah.
like letting them know when it'll be for sale. So I don't get it from customers really. No, it's from other bakers. And it's not like I price hide. Like when my pre-sales are live, I get inundated. It's one of the most clicked on links that I ever share are when my pre-sales are live. And that is not from my customers necessarily.
I don't
And
know
we've
if people
talked about
know
this
that.
before. You're like, the website traffic is ridiculous. And like 80% of it is like nowhere in Arizona.
Well, yeah, and mine can show like the regional dots of like who's logging in. And so it's
Yeah.
like literally or America, and it's like all the little like, dude, people are logging in here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hi, state. How about you join?
But I like, okay, so I totally get the curiosity because I get curious too. I'm like, how much does, you know, these particular cookiers, like, I'm
Mhm.
just so curious what they charge. And I know full well, like, plenty of them don't charge enough for what they're doing. And like, look, we all have fall to that for sure. Um, but it is just funny to me. And the reason for my personal irk, do you get an irk
When
when you
people
get
ask
irked?
how much,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I get more of a like, oh, how do
Yeah.
I want to answer this?
It's the same sentiment. It's like we know where and the thing is like we have opened ourselves up to be a source of like being able to come ask us about these things. And so we totally get that. It's not like, no, don't do that. It's more so just like it's such a bigger discussion.
Yeah.
And I think that I'll speak for myself, but I feel like you and I kind of feel the same way is like, I have no problem sharing what my pricing is for that. But what I want you to be careful of is then saying like, okay, I'm going to charge the same thing because
Yes.
there's so many variables at play. Even if your cookie looks exactly the same as mine, there are so
Oh,
many variables to think through.
yeah, no, there certainly is. And I think that's what's the hard part is, again, it's not like, oh, I don't want to share with you. It's not the holy grail because I say I charge this much does not mean it sets the bar standard of like, you're either need to charge exactly that or whatever. It's
Right.
just what has worked. And I think, especially during this season, it's kind of hard when it depends on how long you've been doing this. How much have you built up your customers? If you're just starting out with this season and you're like, oh, this is what everyone's charging, I'm going to charge that. It's like, well, you do have to build that trust up with your clientele and say, I know this is what I'm delivering. I know I like the product. I know
Exactly.
I like that before you can. That's why there's so many different levels. Like you charge differently than I charge.
Yeah.
And I have friends here who are down the street and we charge differently. So you kind
Mhm.
of have to find where that is. And just because, for example, you charge more than me,
Yeah.
but if I put that out to my customers, it wouldn't translate over the same. So,
Exactly. And I think that's ding, ding, ding. Exactly what I would say. Well, okay. Number one, you and I will both preach over and over and over. You have to know the price for your product.
mhm.
Point A, especially now when prices have gone up so much, I am linking to our product pricing guide that will help guide you through how to do that.
Mhm.
And we're not going to go into detail on that on this episode, but you can absolutely find more details on that on our previous pricing episode. But you have got to, and if you have not done that in the past, I would say even 6 months was the last time that you did it, do it again because I was just looking at mine today. I mean, prices have changed so much. Now, I'm not necessarily saying if your ingredients have doubled that you should be doubling your prices
Mhm.
necessarily, because that is just not the most realistic thing to help your business succeed. But you do need to be looking at every factor under the sun of where else can you cut costs because those are also the things that feed into your pricing model,
Right.
right?
Right. I'm going through all of my packaging, for example, right now and seeing how can I create sets that fit the packaging that I have so that
Yeah.
I don't have to go out and order packaging at a higher price.
Mhm.
And so things like that, like Melissa and I have talked about is how can you streamline your bows? Is it going to be cheaper for you to I know it's going to be more time, but financially making them or buying them
Mhm.
already pre-done because anytime something is
Mhm.
already pre-done, it's a luxury price, so it does cost a little bit more
Yeah.
because you're trading off that time. So you kind of have to balance a lot of these different factors when you're looking at pricing now with the current craziness of ingredients. I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I also think too, coming into pre-sale, it's imperative to pull your audience. And if
mhm,
you have done a year of sales already, go back and look at what the most successful things were and really try and stick to what is going to sell for sure.
Mhm.
Just to make it the most benefit for your time. And also, I feel like we're skipping ahead a little bit, but it's, fine, whatever. Um, One of the things I feel like both of us have challenged ourselves with this year was, what can I do with what I already have? I already
Yes.
have these boxes. I already have these bows. I'm going to create a color scheme and palette so that I can utilize what I have
Mhm.
already. The thermal printer, been one of my biggest things too for those pesky packaging stickers.
Yes.
Initial investment, yeah, but in the long run, whew, so much cheaper. So much cheaper.
Mhm.
So, yeah, those are two other things. But I wanted to kind of like take us back a little bit because you had said something that I thought was so like such a great, I guess, metaphor. Um, for how to think about pricing, because we had a situation where I think somebody was asking us on the cookie chat or something like that about pricing, and they're like, well, I'm in this area, it's like similar to you, and this is what I am pricing at. And you relate it to the real estate market, and I thought
Yeah.
that that was so just kind of an aha moment of how to relate our feelings about like pricing once you know the price of your product. But something that we saw last time when we really got a range of pricing models from people all over the US, and we were like, okay, there's a correlation
Mhm.
here. And like it was kind of our inkling, anyways. But, anyways, I'm going to pass it to you. Explain what you told me. I'm going to shut up.
Yeah. Uh, it is I feel like the housing market is just something everybody can kind of relate to because everyone's curious about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you take your house in your city, every state has like that bougie city where you're like, my goodness, the real estate market. If you took your house and tried to sell it at that rate,
Hmm.
it probably wouldn't sell in your area because you're outpricing within your area. So you kind of have to look at your city limits. So my house wouldn't necessarily sell for in Arizona. Paradise Valley is a really well-known area. It wouldn't sell for Paradise Valley prices. Doesn't mean I still can't price it high within my area, but I'd have to look at those houses. So
Hmm.
you kind of have to know is just because we're in a similar state or similar demographic, you still have to kind of look is what is that median house price? What is that median income? And kind of use that as like a starting basis to
Hmm.
know if your area is averaging the average household is a $60,000 house or $60,000 family income. Okay, that's a big difference between looking at somebody who's in an area of $150,000 family income. What can they afford? What's going to work? And Melissa is really good. I know you had talked about this is um she was looking for a different demographic than where she was. So having to go out and find that demographic was different for her versus I do stay within my city.
Yeah.
I do. I will say though, a caveat to that is I've had 6 years to kind of build my clientele. So I'm not coming at this from a new cookier perspective. So keep that in mind if you're new to the cookie chat.
Totally. And yeah, it was so we're in a different suburb now. And we were in a suburb just kind of next door. And I honestly haven't looked at like the difference of like household income levels between the two cities, but there is noticeably a difference, I feel
Mhm.
like. And it's definitely helped my business. But before that, you have to think of ways like I wasn't doing pop-ups at like the local I don't know, the just like the local market. I
Mhm.
was going to like high-end retail stores where people are spending extra money already in a mindset of like this is probably like a really expensive candle, and so
Mhm.
therefore like I will buy an expensive cookie to match it. And like so I was actively like going out and finding like the expensive areas to market myself to, because not everybody is like, listen, I learned to make cookies because I didn't want to spend money on expensive cookies for my parties. So I totally get that that's not where like I was choosing to spend my money. But a marketer and a business person, and I'm going to hunt for those people. So that's kind of like one of the ways to do it. And we had suggested before too, like some people have, their local pickup, but then they
Mhm.
will offer a pickup in like, so I'm a suburb outside of Dallas. If I like, we're still building my business and wanted to like attract some of those Dallas buyers that have the monies
Mhm.
that I want, then go hunt that out and do pickup offers or delivery, like build it into your cost for it. But do it in like another market that is going to like come to those prices. I have what I would also say is you can't start out at those like super higher prices. You do have to kind
Mhm.
of like build your brand, build the recognition and things like that. You've got to kind of like do your time a little bit, but be okay with that. Maybe some of those customers are not going to follow you along that path of pricing growth
Mhm.
because they loved that price point, and the quality of the work that they were getting for that price point is the max of what they were looking for. That's the
Right.
max of what they were looking to spend money on cookies for, or macarons, or whatever it is that you sell, right? And if you are looking to, and if you want to stay in that space and capitalize on that space, y'all go for it. Like that market will never die. Um, but if you are like in a space of wanting to like grow that in a different way, and maybe like, doing like detailed cookie virtuoso things, you got to find people who are going to pay for that art. And it's okay that that's going to shift. I currently don't have, I mean, I've got like a handful of my original customers, because it's just my business evolved. And so you have to be careful if you are, it's kind of like dress for the job that you want and not always the job that you have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that's a great perspective on it. How much would you say, like percentage wise, do you think you have of your original customers?
Okay, well, it's also hard because I moved
Yeah.
suburbs.
I've moved twice.
Yeah. Um, and also I'm now in pre-sales only. But
So if you went back and looked at your
I would
customers that would buy
say
for
like 25%.
hmm, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I would say from my beginning, because I can look at my customer profile because I've had my website for so long.
Mhm.
Um, and I was looking at this because we had talked about it, and mine is at 87% are still there from my
That's
get go.
amazing.
And I have tripled what I have original. I started out at $18 a dozen when I
Yeah.
was first trying to build my long gone are those days, you guys. This was 6 years ago. Butter was $1.
Yeah.
So let's be real. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I do think in adding to that in a different perspective is it's really going to be dependent upon what is your business motto, your basis of your business. Mine has always been
Oh,
like
yeah.
I don't want to say my tagline, but just the core of my business is I want to be affordable to the stay-at-home mom. I want to
Yes.
be able to help with the working mom who's like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to manage all of these things. How can I still afford these luxuries for my kids? So, like Melissa
Totally.
said, she was out to find her
My
clientele.
motto was, how do I get the bougie event planners to buy my things?
See, and I'm opposite. I'm like, I just want to be the moms. Like, so
Yeah.
that is going
But
to be a
also, like,
shift.
I do think it adds to that. You were a full-time cookier supplementing like your household income, you
Yeah, but
know?
even
Like,
from the beginning when I was doing both,
oh
and
yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be a full-time gig. I just
Yeah.
wanted to add something special to
Yeah.
moms that were working hard because I was balancing both things and I'm like, "Oh man, there'd be
Yeah.
some days where I'm like, dang it, I wish I could get this huge cake for my kids' party. It's so cute."
Yeah.
But the pricing was astronomical. I'm not paying for a wedding for a
Yeah.
five-year-old's birthday. So that
Yeah.
was where I kind of started my basis is I just wanted to add those little moments. So
Yeah.
just offering a different perspective when you're thinking of things like that with pricing is again, if I compared my business to Melissa's business, her clientele she's reaching for is night and day of mine. So if I'm looking at Melissa and saying, I'm failing because I'm not charging this, well, I
Right.
know I'm still bringing in just enough for my area, for my household, for my family of what I need to do. So
Yeah.
that's where when we get those messages, it is a little hard and we're like, oh,
Yeah. I will say there was definitely a defining moment in my business too of like making that shift. I didn't come into it thinking that I necessarily wanted to be in that space, but I think as I learned and as I like kind of like started to find like my style and what I was enjoying doing
yes.
versus what I was like the time I was putting in versus the money that I was getting back, I kind of had to have a moment of like, okay, like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this like as a creative outlet for myself. And like I'm spending late nights doing this and like what's going to be worth it? And I was like, okay. And so I had a moment with myself where I was like, I really love doing super detailed painted cookies, like I love that like design aspect of it. And I was like, okay, well, that's not realistic for this X price point. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to continue doing this and make it a viable business for my personal needs, and again, like just like you were saying, Chelsea, it kind of like goes back to your why, like your
Mm-hmm.
original mission in starting your business. And you have to listen to yourself because your business adapts. Like it's okay
Yes.
to adapt it, you know? I never thought that I was going to go into just pre-sales, but it again was one of those defining moments where I was like, okay, so I'm doing these super detailed sets and I love them, but I'm still maybe not necessarily meeting like my life balance that I'm looking for. So how do I adapt now?
Yeah.
So, um, yeah. So there are like, I'm like, oh, there was a moment that it like clicked where I was like, okay, I need to make a change here. And
Yeah.
so how do I do that? And then that's where it shifted to like hunting a new customer or like growing to a new customer. So,
Definitely. And part of adding into this pricing is knowing your time and knowing how long things take you, because taking out the ingredients, what a lot of creatives struggle with is I'm not making enough money for the time, as Melissa was stating, like I'm investing in this creation. And
mhm,
I know you guys see it. I show it timing myself on things. And that is how I know how many I can take a week. That's how I know how much in a pre-sale that I can sell, because I can
mhm,
literally tell you, okay, it takes me X amount of time to flood this tray. This is how long it takes me to make frosting. So the quicker you get at it on whether it be flooding a basic white tray of white cookies, that's the easiest color to flood with. If you keep trying to beat your own time and not comparing it to anybody else,
yeah,
you're going to get paid more for your time. And Josie and I, for Mosettes and Ruffles, she and I had this conversation a few weeks ago where she was like, you take on more cookies than I do. But then I'm like, oh my gosh, I must be such a slow decorator. We're in a very isolated time, like when we're not
yeah,
working with anybody else. So there's really no comparison until you see someone else's time. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm either really fast or I'm really slow or I'm really whatever it might be, fill in the blank. And I was like, I don't think you're slow. I look at you and I'm like, dang girl, the detail that you do in the time. So it's always that comparison once we see it.
mhm,
However, having over the years gotten this experience, yes, I do things a little bit quicker. And I'm like, oh, good. I've beat my own time, but it's been from the very beginning. So when you're trying to take in how to price things, knowing that time, like Melissa said, her detailed sets take her so much longer. And the return on the basic ones wasn't manning out. Really try and start after your ingredients on how much
mhm,
things cost you is how much time you are putting into things. And then, like Melissa said, maybe you might come to a realization that, hey, we're going to take Veronica, for example, from the Cookie Lady's Daughter. She
yeah,
loves teaching classes and
yeah,
doing decorating kits. So your business model doesn't always need to be the same as I'm doing customs, I'm taking this many a week. You
yeah.
can find success in this industry in many different facets.
Totally. So this brings us into the next point that I wanted us to cover is, well, but Melissa, Chelsea, like I'm never going to be able to like make a living at this if I
Mm-hmm.
like am not hitting these price points. So I think the positive discussion I want us to have related to that is what are additional things that you can do if you are really wanting to like make this a full business.
Mhm.
You, for instance, Chelsea, do not solely make custom cookies. Like that is not the only thing. You are teaching classes, you are doing like tasting boxes, you're doing like
Mhm.
the DIY kits, so what are some of those like big money makers that you would suggest of okay, these are like big money makers for the time that it takes?
Um, that's a hard question to answer also in the sense because I don't think if there was anything that was like an outstanding, oh my gosh, this is worth so much money, I feel like everybody would be doing that. They're just supplemental.
Yeah.
So they're helping to meet financial goals. They're helping to meet whatever it might be that you're looking for within the season. But like Melissa said, the DIY kits, they're huge during holiday season for me because people are decorating cookies or
Mhm.
I'm really wondering this year if they're going to be more popular because the price of butter for, let's be real, butter, flour, sugar, all of the
Yeah.
things for everyone else is high. So they're like, I'm going to skimp on that, but I'll buy them already pre-done. So I wonder
Yeah.
if with the season, if that's going to actually kick up now that you're saying it. But DIY kits, there's always some theme every single month that's going on. Cinco de Mayo, back to school,
Mhm.
whatever it might be. Classes are extremely popular this season as well. I
Yeah.
do partner with an art studio. So when you partner with somebody, sometimes there's a split in revenue, and that's up to you guys to negotiate. There's not a set standard within our industry. So just make sure it's something that you are going to benefit from. I will say 50-50 is not a good starting point. 100% I've seen people say, oh, I do
You're
50. I'm like,
saying
no.
that you as the cookier should be getting more than 50%?
Yes. Yes. Oh, 100%. You're doing all the work of it. So if
Yeah.
you're partnering with somebody who's just allowing you to use their space or helping with advertisement, 50-50 is not a good split on that. So
Yeah.
I'll give you
What are
that
some
starting
good
point.
businesses to reach out to if you're looking for a space?
Um, th- it depends on your area. Some areas have like conference centers that you can
Mhm.
rent out, and they kind of popped up with COVID happening and people needing to get out of the house. So sometimes there are just like event studio rentals. Um, You can look at local bakeries. Like we have a few here that have little storefronts.
Mhm.
You're helping another small business. So you can say, hey, can I rent out your lobby area and teach
Yep.
a class? Veronica is really good at breweries in her area
Yes.
and little like outdoor, little cute restaurants. That could be something that you can partner with. Like I said, I partner with an art studio. So she already has a clientele that is loving different DIYs and arts.
Mhm.
Um,
I know it's also a really popular thing this time of year as like a corporate appreciation event
oh,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
So even to like reaching out, I don't know necessarily if you want to donate sometime, I think schools is a really good way to offer that and get your name out if you're just starting.
Mhm.
So doing it at maybe a lower cost to see if the teachers want to do something like that. But I would definitely say like we all have like those local corporations in our areas. So just reaching out to them and I would come to them with a proposal
Yeah.
of exactly what they're going to be getting with that time and how much it would be per person. But that way they already have generally conference rooms or a space available to do something like that. But that could be something great to do this time of year. Even
Right.
also for us, our neighborhood has a community center.
Mhm.
So community centers are good. Churches
Mhm.
sometimes can be good options too. But yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a multitude of different ways that you can add supplemental income. Something that I'm doing with fall is I have my apple spice flavor and I have pumpkin spice. So doing like a little
Mm.
drop of just apples in my apple flavor, basic flood, a little pack, and then like a cute tag. A lot of this can be sold by your packaging that we've talked about, like spicing up that packaging and making it feel like, oh, I'm getting something cute and special.
Yeah.
So having those like specific holiday flavors drop, those can also be fun things where it's a limited amount of time and it causes urgency and a rush of like, oh, I need to snag this. Otherwise, I'm not going to see it again till next year. So
Yes.
those are
Totally.
little things you can add in to help just supplement in that income. Again, and you know what we have talked about with it being going into holiday season. If holidays are not your jam, which they are not for some people, do customs.
Yeah. People still have
There,
birthday parties. I'm a holiday baby. I have a holiday
yes,
baby. Like,
yes.
yeah.
So there's a huge network, huge market. And if you guys have like local Facebook groups or Instagram groups of your state, your city of cookiers that all chat with each other, just say, hey, I'm going to be taking customs. And when they get inquiries from their customers, or if they send out email blasts, they can say, hey, reach out to X, Y, and Z. She'll take care of all your customs, or he'll take care of all your customs. So don't feel that. Again, I think a big point we're trying to get across is just because you see other people do it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do this or you're behind or failing. Make your business what you want your business to be.
Totally. And just if it doesn't necessarily work the first time, I mean, look, you have to be smart, but sometimes things take time in a couple of iterations before it can kind of catch on necessarily. It takes word of mouth, and that can take time. So, yeah. One other thing that I wanted us to touch on that I know that we talked about in the original pricing episode was there's kind of like two main camps. And this is specifically, I think, for newer bakers coming in and saying, how the heck do I price something like this? There's kind of two camps in how to do pricing models. There's kind of a tiered effect, and then there's a price per cookie effect. And sometimes you can do a little bit of both of those. Chelsea, I think you kind of do a little bit of both of those, right?
No.
You do.
I just do general.
Yeah. You do general. So just the methodology behind those are tiered is kind of like, I feel like generally there's between 2 or 3 tiers. So the first tier is just you say, okay, you're paying for this, and it's a very simple, it's very straightforward, and it's like maybe just a few colors, and it is X price point. And then the next level up is, okay, you get a little bit more details and a little bit more colors and maybe like a floral, and it's this price point. So you make it very clear and straightforward to the customers, and you can go up from that. And sometimes people have, I think, like a general price of like logo cookies are this much.
Yeah. I guess I have a hybrid now that you're talking about it.
I think you do. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't do it tiered like that.
Yeah. So I know that Dough by Mo did it tiered like that. I want to say Sugars by Leah, I think, has it like very straightforward tiered price, which like I get the benefit of doing it that way when they're both like you, they're full time, and it's just like very like boom, 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 like straightforward. I feel like they have a very like clear formula in their head about like how to tackle each tier. And then there is like on the opposite extreme of that, I feel like is like a price per cookie. So when I was doing customs, that's what I did. And I basically would say like, okay, if you're getting 2 dozen, I am looking at the inspiration. I know for sure I'm going to hand paint at least 10 of those. So I would say, if I know I'm doing like 10 hand painted cookies, here's a price for 10 hand painted cookies. I'm going to keep a couple more simple. And so I wouldn't sketch everything out and completely plan everything out, but I know what is a good mix of like different varieties of stuff for myself. So I wouldn't necessarily like sketch everything out, but I have a general idea of like what works like well, what I like to like include to make my set feel like my style. And then I would hide all those individual price points and just give them like a overall price of what things are going to be.
Yeah.
Are you there, Chelsea?
I am.
Okay. Guys, if I am having trouble editing this completely, know that we have had some internet issues.
I mean, it wouldn't be the cookie chat if we had no internet issues.
Right? Oh my gosh, technical issues. Okay, so I feel like those are the two main camps. Chelsea, how does your hybrid work?
So my hybrid is in the sense that I have a basis. It's my base. If you just want like, let's say pink flooded heart cookies and put like M&C on it, easy. Those are, I think it's now at $48 a dozen, I want to say. 45, something like that. I got to look back on what my base cost is. It's on my website, and that's where it says that's what cookies start at. From there, on my order form, people will send like the details out and pictures of samples of things that they like or their decorations, whatever it might be. And then I can generally get a feel, because I've been doing this for so long, what their aesthetic is, what their color scheme is, all of that. If you send me something that is like super high floral, all of this, and I'm like, okay, they're looking for a little bougier of a set. My base cost is, let's say it was $45 a dozen. Okay, so how much would this be for this generalized set, something that's going to look like this? This is how much I would charge you. So I just give them a straight, here you go.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do have to ask for more details, or when people send character cookies, I will tell them, if you're looking at the character faces on here, this is going to be your price of the set. If you want just concepts, like let's take Harry Potter, for example, I'll always say, if you're looking for concept ones, i.e. the broom, the glasses, maybe like the color scheme of it, it's going to be this price point. So I give them 2 different ones so they can see, oh, okay, character cookies are going to cost me more. And sometimes they're like, great, let's do 1 concept, 1 character set. Or they'll say, is there any way I can get a mix? And I'm like, yeah, if you want a mix of like half character faces, half concept, which traditionally is what a lot of my sets are.
Yeah.
This is the median price point. Knowing that, when someone sends like a mix of them, I just give them that halfway point in between.
Yeah.
So they know. I like when people just tell me clean, simple cut. For example, if I was going out to buy a house, coming back to the basic beginning, and someone was like, okay, well, then this house is going to be $400,000 and this house is $475,000. I'm like, okay, I don't care, but how much is my payment going to change?
Yeah.
So just tell me what the payment is, and I'll decide from there what I feel comfortable with. Also, it streamlines my process, which again goes back to my time. Is when you're full-time, you're like, just bust them out. Okay. The amount of emails I get versus somebody who may be part-time getting emails, it's just something I need to have a formula. So I think that's where kind of that tiered pricing, hybrid pricing. And I also say it's hybrid because a lot of times in a tiered pricing structure, they're going to say, you get 3 colors in this one, no more than 2 shapes, no more than 2 designs, no projector work, no, whatever it might be. To me, when I was trying to find what works for my business, that I felt stifled, and there was really no creativity in it. Sometimes I want to see a set and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm really feeling this. I'm just going to give it more detail. And we've talked about, if you go to our previous episodes, letting them know like, this I did a little bit more because I just loved your theme.
I love that you do that.
But at least I can feel like I still have creative control over if I'm inspired, because again, what your customers are seeing, they're just Googling like lemon baby shower cookies, and whatever's going to come up on the top search engine, they're going to scroll the first page and find.
They're not sitting there looking at Instagram pictures all day like we are.
Right. Know? And all these other cookiers. So they don't know what's
like
out
seeing
there.
all the new techniques or anything.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where I'm like, I don't want to put myself in this, like, you can only use 3 colors. I don't like that, because some days like creativity hits and I'm like, oh, I could totally do this. So that's where I kind of adopted the hybrid. But yeah, just as long as you know you're covering your basis of the ingredients and that you're progressively getting faster with your time, I think you should be able to ballpark range. Going into that, last time we did this pricing, I think, if I remember correctly, it was what, $65 a dozen was a pretty.
I think it's like, you need to be like, what was the base point of like, if you're not at least pricing it at this, then
I want to say at that time it was like $35 a dozen or something, or $38.
I feel like it's got to be more.
It's now, but back then when ingredients were still easily accessible and you could find them at a decent price. I do want to say though, I know in Arizona it was $65 was kind of that sweet point where people were like, okay, I feel comfortable, but I'm turning, like some people are turning away. Once you started to get into, I know 85 and up, you had a little, we, in talking to different creators, found that they were like, a lot more people would give more of the like, let me think about that versus an immediate yes. So there was that kind of gap age group that we found.
I will say too, like just from, it's just a theory in business. If 100% of the people are saying yes to your price, then you are priced too low. You want at least like 10 to 15% to be like, no, Like, that's too much. Like, it's okay to have people turned away.
Yeah, if you're losing every customer, like I've had people email, like
Yeah.
I can't get one person to say yes.
Then that's
And
a
I've had to,
sign.
yeah, and I've had to
Yeah.
say is maybe think about adjusting your prices. I will say for this holiday season, I am going to announce that I will have a slight price increase than what my customer base has been used to. But, and again, this is my business. This is not, I'm not telling anybody else to do this. If prices go down in ingredients, I will bring my prices down. But
Yeah.
that is, again, part of my core business, that these are the things I would like to stick to, and I want to be affordable. So at this moment, if butter all of a sudden goes on sale for $1.97 again,
Yeah.
let's hope and pray.
Yeah.
I don't mind bringing my prices back down to what my customers are
Yeah.
comfortable with. So I know that's not for everybody. If people are like, ooh, I can get away with this, I'm going to slowly do the increase. Again, don't
There
feel.
is a cap too. Like,
Mhm.
there is a cap of, like, how far you can push it, you know?
Yeah, no, there definitely is. It's just I am comfortable with saying that I will drop my
Yeah.
prices back down, where a lot of people are like, "Girl, why would you ever bring your price back down if you could sell at
Yeah.
this?" Again, that's just my own personal take on it. I am
Yeah.
not saying I'm the Holy Grail Bible, but just offering a different insight on that.
Yeah. That's what we do here at the Cookie Tribe.
We like to give you guys all
But I would say,
perspectives.
I feel like if you are just starting out and you're feeling overwhelmed, first off, like, get that pricing guide, get your basis price of ingredients. And I do think that, like, I started out with a tier
Mhm.
because I didn't know, like, you don't know until you really get into it. So I would say, like,
Yeah.
for the first few months, I did tiered pricing. And then after that, like, I was getting in the groove of, like, okay, like, florals are like, those really take a lot more time and I really enjoy doing those. So, like,
Mhm.
maybe I should, like, but I do think tiered is a great place to start. Um, and yeah, just like have some awareness. Definitely, I think it's a great place to start of checking out what the other cookiers in your area are charging. Now, don't go straight up ask them. Be the creeper and go to their pre-sales and their websites. Like, duh, like normal people.
I do know that is sometimes like it's different when people ask like what would you start at on
Yeah.
this, or what would be a good base, versus like I've legit had people ask me, how much do
Mm.
you make in a year? What is your take home? Like,
That's you guys, that's just not okay.
I don't want
I
to answer
mean,
this. Because again, like Melissa has said over and over, there's so many different layers of that,
yeah.
because it is not just custom cookies. That's counting in holiday cookies and classes and
Mhm.
Papa, all of those fun things. So everybody's business model is different. So
Well, and shoot,
don't
and it's not just
compare.
that. There's, like, so many extra things too. There's, like, Facebook pays you now to do stuff. Like,
Mhm.
there's so many, like, extra things too that just all pile into us like raking in the dough, you know?
Rolling in the dough, it's in the name. I love when people
You
use that against me.
manifested. You
I know,
manifested.
right? I was just trying. Long before manifesting was a thing.
Well, I mean, Chelsea, I feel like we killed pricing, you know? Basically, I
We
feel
could
like we
probably go on
need,
for hours about pricing, but trying
yeah.
to keep
I mean,
it
I feel like we need honorary degrees in finance, basically.
right.
So, all right. Well, I'm sure you guys have questions.
Yes. I'm sure we'll do a
So,
follow-up on this. Like we could probably do a
yeah,
Q&A on pricing.
feel free. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe we'll do a special Patreon only answer
Ooh.
all of your burning pricing questions.
Yes.
Or even just work one-on-one with you guys, maybe in some pricing things. I'm getting
Mhm.
ahead of myself because we're into holidays. So Chelsea and I's
You are.
schedules get a little tight, but
Yeah.
maybe it can be a goal. So, but speaking of Patreon, we'd love to have you guys over there. It's 10% off all of our fall merch for our top tier Patreonies. I picked that term up from a podcast I'm listening to, and now I hope that's not trademarked by them. But anyways, yeah. So pop on over to our Patreon, go check that out. You get early access to all of the episodes, additional info. We have some fun new handouts coming out.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, check out the merch at the Domestic Cookie. Anything else, Jess?
Follow us over on social media.
Yeah, yeah. Well, come hang out with us over there. We'll bug you guys over there some more. Oh boy. Okay, so it's been a minute since we've done our sign off. Are we ready to remember?
Oh Lord.
It starts with you.
It does.
Yeah. Mhm.
We'll just
We're gonna wing it. Let's see. Let's see what we got.
I'm Chelsea with Rolling in the Dough AZ.
I'm Melissa with Missy P Sweets. May your cakes never be dry.
And your cookies be shiny and crater free. Have a great one.
I think, is it cookies or icing? We're close.
I don't know.
We're close enough, guys.
It's
Bye,
one of those
y'all.
things when people will ask you, like, what are the words to the Pledge of Allegiance? You're like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just start saying it and you're like, oh, is that right?
I think we nailed it. People get what
We're
we're
going to
saying.
pretend. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.